Many American cities are currently dying a slow death. Like the cities that have gone before them, Camden, Detroit, and Baltimore, among many others, many urban areas in the United States look more than eager to join the ranks of failed cities. Looting, pillaging, rampage, and riots are now a daily occurrence. Mobs of ideologues, along with those that just want to see the world burn, are not only driving the productive members of their communities out, but also many businesses. However, there is a new aspect to this current round of civil strife and social convulsions. And that is the manifestation of a Maoist-style cultural revolution in an attempt to bring America to its own year zero, and the removal of America's four olds: old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas. The total deracination of the American people by the comrades of this cultural revolution is best exemplified by their chanting that America, like Canada and Australia for that matter, are all but built on stolen land and are thus totally illegitimate entities in and of themselves. So what you've seen is that those that oppose the comrades that seek the deconstruction of America and providing their own chants of USA, USA, they are met with chants of stolen land back from the black-clad, mask-wearing foot soldiers of the new globalist order. But what is stolen land? And a better question is, how can land be stolen? And if so, what does it mean about ownership and about the ownership of land itself? And more importantly, what does it mean to people, society, and civilizations as a whole? Just a quick announcement that I'm now selling a whole slew of new t-shirts, many with new designs and several with new logo designs. There are, of course, lots of colors that you can choose from and many different kinds of shirts. There's the classic logo in red and yellow and white and gray, and new logos that I'm using on the Felix Rex channel, along with a 2020 commemorative shirt written in Japanese katakana. Check them out, there is a link in the description. So thank you very much in advance, and remember to check to see if you're still subscribed, as YouTube has dropped thousands of people from this channel and will continue to do so as we go forward toward November. Last month, the ancient Byzantine Christian cathedral, the Hagia Sophia, was reconverted after 8 decades as a museum to a mosque. It, along with the city of Constantinople, the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, fell to Turkish conquest in 1453 and was promptly renamed Istanbul. The culture of the Christian Byzantines, the last direct link to antiquity, was all but snuffed out, and they were replaced as a people in Anatolia by a very different people that had a different culture, a different religion, and a different language. I'm speaking, of course, about the Turks that then went on to become the Ottoman Empire and grew as a civilization from the Balkans to the Persian Gulf and encompassed most of North Africa. But it wasn't just Anatolia, but also most of the Levant, Egypt, and also North Africa that were once Christian lands all the way up till late antiquity, and they too were conquered, and their cultures, languages, and religions were snuffed out by the conquering armies of Islam. In fact, the conquering armies of Islam brought them all the way across the Iberian Peninsula until they were halted in what is today France by Charles the Hammer Martel at the Battle of Tours in October 732, where he saved Europe from Islamic domination. It then took the armies of the Reconquista more than 700 years to expel the Muslims from what is today Spain. And these struggles over territories have gone on since the dawn of our species. And the reason being is that we, like many, many other animals, whether we like it or not, are in fact territorial. Territorial struggle has been at the heart of the human experience. The United States itself was able to win its territorial independence from the British Crown by force of arms, while the American South was not able to do so 9 decades later. They were declared a rebellion and were forced through military subjugation to rejoin the Union after the end of the Civil War. There was the population exchange of Greece and Turkey in 1923 that emptied Anatolia of most Christian Greeks and emptied Greece of most Islamic Turks, and this involved at least 1.6 million people. In living memory, millions of ethnic Germans were expelled from their homes at the end of the Second World War when much of Eastern Germany's territory was cleaved off when borders were redrawn. The great city of Königsberg was emptied of its people and then repopulated with Russians, and has then since been known as Kaliningrad. There was the creation of the State of Israel that also to this day is said to be built on, quote, stolen land, closed quote, not only by the comrades of our own cultural revolution, but also the surrounding Muslim nations that are themselves built upon the lands of Christians that they in turn conquered centuries ago. There was the partition of India carved out of the British Raj that also saw one of the greatest mass transfers of population in human history and involved approximately 16 million people, with an estimated between 200,000 and 2 million people being killed during this transfer of population. And in recent decades, we saw the breakup of the Soviet Union into 15 independent countries. And differing from a breakup, which is usually mutually agreed upon, we get the word Balkanized from the countries of the Balkan Peninsula to describe the fragmentation or division of a larger region or state into smaller regions or states, which may be hostile or uncooperative with one another. Attempts to Balkanize can be seen as far afield as Spain, Canada, the Philippines, China, Thailand, Burma, and India, among many others. Usually, this is the result of a clearly defined ethnic, linguistic, religious, cultural, or racial group, or a combination thereof, not having their own independent territory or the ability to navigate their own destiny as a people. Good examples of this would be the Kurdistani people that are found in Turkey, Iran, and Iraq, as well as the Uyghur population in China. The point to all of this is that no matter where you go, there are layers upon layers of human claims to the land under your feet. There are territorial disputes between countries as far afield as Japan and Russia, the UK and Argentina. What the comrades and their commissars in the streets of America seeking to destroy the Four Olds would have you believe is that there is some kind of divine right, some kind of sacrosanct ownership of some land, and that any other claim to it is illegitimate because that land is stolen. Interestingly, though, however, is these same comrades only deploy this argument against nations like the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, among others, and never against, for example, Russia vis-a-vis Kaliningrad in the west or Karafuto and the surrounding islands in Russia's Far East. Now, the ideological reason for the selective nature of moral absolutes when it comes to land ownership, when being spoken of by these mobs destroying the cities in America, well, it's pretty clear. One, it doesn't suit their narrative, and two, which is more to the truth, and the more clever of their group understand, is that first and foremost, land doesn't belong to anyone. Territory in terms of tribe, clan, kingdom, state, or empire will only belong to a group of people if they have the will and, more importantly, the ability to defend it. Human collectives throughout time were not able to do so. Humans in strong collectives have always had the tendency toward expansion. From the Persians and Alexander to the Romans, the Arabs, the Chinese, and the Ottomans, and then finally the countries of Western Europe, empires are based on expansion and have risen, but as they always do in the end, fall. Land or territory can only be transformed into property via the threat of violence. Within a group, this can facilitate the rise of personal property, but the same mechanism works for the boundaries of a group, tribe, clan, kingdom, or state, or empire for that matter. Territory has always been defended through the threat of violence. Clearly, tribes, clans, and nations have been created for this reason, to defend a patch of land against interlopers. But also, too, has territory been absorbed when that threat is not substantial enough to ward off the invasion and the conquering of land by another group. And this is how empires are born. But it's also true in many cases that tribes, clans, and nations survive and are reborn at the end of empire. Greece, Croatia, Latvia. There are many such examples, too numerous to count for this presentation. Put simply, land and who it, quote, belongs to, closed quote, has always been a question of who has the strength to possess it. There is no divine right by any group to any certain parcel of land on this earth. Land cannot be stolen, as the comrades burning the streets of American cities chant and believe. Land can be lost, and land can be won. When won, it can be transformed into property within the current ruling order. However, land can never truly belong to anyone or any group of people forever, and thus land cannot be stolen. While the more clever of those that seek to bring America to its own year zero via the destruction of the four olds understand this, the rank and file need simplistic explanations and Saul Alinsky-style tactics to make sense of a world they clearly and obviously do not understand. These people, like most people in movements, are being led, and where their commissars are leading them to is probably not a place many of them would in fact want to live in. They just don't know this yet. Thanks very much. If you liked this video, please consider supporting my work via my own website, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Links are in the description. Also follow me over on BitChute, as these videos are uploaded several hours to several days before they are on YouTube. Again, thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.